So in the last video, we had converted a color photo to black and white and added a tint. And I got it now to where I like it. And the next part is to put it into my Photoshop file to create this will just be a single photo. For your project, you'll be doing multiple photos in one document. But if you can do one of these, then you can do 3 to 6 of them and tell a story. So you'll have everything you need in this instruction on how to get that into your Photoshop file. So now I need to go ahead and to get this over here to the Photoshop file. The easiest way I like to do this is change my window, arrange tile vertically, so I can see both documents at the same time. And then I just need to click, hold, and drag the image over to my Photoshop document. Once I have that, I'm pretty much done with this one, so I can close it, and I just have my Photoshop document at this point. Now for my background, I might want to create something to offset it, so I'm just going to pick a medium dark blue, and with the paint bucket just give everything a splash of blue. And you can play around with different colors and probably pick a better color than I just did. But the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to add a vector frame around this photo just to give it a white border. And it'll sort of make it look like one of those old Polaroid photos to some degree. Now there's a couple different ways I could do this. One is I could create a new layer. You don't need to follow along with this, but then I would create a selection tool and I would just draw a selection window. I would go ahead and paint bucket that white, and then maybe so I can see through it a little bit, I'd drop the opacity and then come and grab the selection tool again and then manually try to guess where this thing should go and then erase inside of that. And then I can increase the opacity back to 100%, and then I've got myself a frame. The drawback with this is I'm not able to edit it. I'm kind of stuck and left with what I have. So that can be a drawback. So we're going to do something different using a vector tool. Even though Photoshop is known to be a raster tool, we're going to use a very simple shape tool called the rectangle tool, and it does it using a vector format. So once I click the shape tool, you'll have the property windows up here at the top. And I'm going to keep shape, but I'm going to change fill to transparent and stroke to white. So stroke is sort of synonymous with border, if you will. And I can change the thickness of the border. I'll go ahead and I'll probably type in 25. And I can even change what the border does. In this case, my options are a solid line, a dashed line, or a dotted line. For this, I'm just going to keep the solid line. Certainly you could play around with these other things if you wanted to. And why won't it just keep my 25 pixels? Maybe I just had to hit return. Okay, so now I have my shape, and I can come over here and I can draw my shape, and as soon as I do that, Photoshop will create a new layer for your for your rectangle. And now I get a properties window for my rectangle, and I can edit this. So maybe if I needed this a little bit bigger, I could go 580 and change the perspective a little bit. I can still change the width of the photo, so maybe I want that 30 pixels instead. Makes it a little bit wider. And there are other things that you could play with. For instance, you could round the corners if you wanted to. But this looks good. I'll just keep it simple, and I'm done with that property. So I have my rectangle frame. I had this old one. I'll go ahead and delete that one. I'm not going to use that. So I have a rectangle. I have a layer 1. Let's go ahead and name this. I'll at least call it a photo, and maybe I put my name, photo of Swanee. And I could keep rectangle 1, or I could name this white frame of Swanee. And I guess I'm doing that because that would allow me to put frames close to the photos that it's around. Once I have multiple pictures on the document, then this could get kind of tricky. Alright? Alright, so here's the next part that we're going to do. Now there's a couple different ways that I can keep the frame with the photo. Okay? One of them would be to have one layer selected, hold the shift key, and hold the other layer. And then I could put them into a folder. Down here there's a folder to put them into a group. And I call that group Swanee. Now as I select the group, just the group layer, it all moves together. It's kind of nice. If I can open it up, and I can still select the individual properties. So that's one way to do it. There's also a way to choose two layers, have them both selected, and there's a link button down at the bottom. These lock those two layers together, and once again, if I've got one selected, it's still linked and held with the other one. So that's another way to keep it together. If I'm pretty sure I never need to come back and edit this white frame, I can merge it into the photo. So we can always create new layers, but what if I want to go ahead and merge the photos, or the layers? So I'll have this top one selected, and we come up here to layer, and one of the options is merge down. It's also got the keystroke of Command E. And when I do that, it now is one photo. Now do I need it in a folder anymore? Probably not. I could drag it out of there and delete the photo. Folder. So I've got a background and now just one layer with this combined. In the next video I'm going to show you how to do layer effects so we can add drop shadow to our photo.